the Rams make a roster move or two. What's the safety room look like? And how about some draft pick remainders? I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the May 15th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need some help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 1992. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourselves some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. So cool. A few little bugs there. Wanted to get out a couple things in the pose picture. I do talk about my books because I want you to buy my books because it makes my life easier. It's not about the ego. It's about going to the restaurant and getting to order what I want to order. But I can push other people's books. If you look above me, you see the 1951 Los Angeles Rams book there, their championship season, that one of the show's friends, Derek Ciapala from Rams Talk, that he was one of the contributing editors to that. I've been pushing that book. I can push books that aren't my own. Also, this book right here, this was the second, I think, Jack Youngblood book. It's called Because It Was Sunday. I'll be the first to admit, if you're a Ram fan, it's a good book because you're a Ram fan. It's not a great book. I don't think they did a good job with how great of a resource the Jack Youngblood is. But it is an enjoyable read, and Because It Was Sunday, I'm sure if you type in Jack Youngblood's name on Amazon, you could check this out. It's been out for a while. And, of course, we know, Jack Youngblood, that is Ram royalty. All right, some of the things we wanted to get into. S.A. Bob from Santa Ana, one of my friends. He's the guy that sent me the, those football helmets. And so S.A. Bob wanted to know what I thought about the NBA playoffs.
Stay in your lane.
And I am going to stay in my lane, but S.A. Bob wanted to know. And I'll tell him I was rooting for the Knicks, and now I'm rooting for Denver. That's where I'm going. But the truth is, as I told S.A. Bob, is that I can't really have a smart basketball conversation with anyone if they believe Nikola Jokic, the Joker, is boring to watch, right? When someone starts a conversation by saying Nikola Jokic is boring to watch, then you really don't know anything about basketball. I'm sorry, you don't. You just don't. If you want to argue that somebody is better than him, okay, Lakers are going to win in the Western Conference Finals. I won't stand in your way. At a pretty high level right now. But, and I'm not saying that Jokic is the greatest basketball player ever, but if you say he's boring, then you don't have a clue about basketball. And I think that kind of label to a player like Jokic tells you everything that's wrong with the NBA. Jokic said it when he went to the All-Star game. He says, my game doesn't fit for this because there's no substance to the NBA game. Very little substance, none to the All-Star game, none to the regular season. If the Lakers pull off the title, which I'm not a Laker fan anymore, but if the Lakers pull off the title, it'll be one of the best things for basketball fandom in history. And that is, it'll show what an absolute irrelevant experience 82 NBA games is during the season, for a season. It's I wouldn't pay for it. I can't believe people pay for it for players who don't try, who sit out games and then turn it on in the playoffs. There's no point of going to a regular season match. And then, of course, the argument here was Jokic is boring to watch.
Stay in your lane.
And I will tell someone, stay in their lane, because if you think Jokic is boring, then you don't know what basketball is. He's an incredible basketball player. in an NBA that caters to the athlete and not the basketball player. And there's a difference between a basketball player and an athlete playing basketball, but all the rules support the athlete. And I understand there's an aspect of selling tickets, but I was asked by SA Bob, and if a contributor to the show, lesson number one, if a contributor to the show wants you to answer a question, you answer a question.
Stay in your lane, bro.
And I will go outside of my lane. That's why it's called RamView, FanView, so I could speak to some of these things. But let's get to Ram talk real quick. Okay, so basically what I do is I do the show, and then early the next day, thank you. Someone clicked on and gave me a like. And then the next day is I post the actual Spotify podcast. And I was asked for clarification on what did I mean about the Aaron Donald and 10 other starters. And I thought it was pretty clear, but I'll share it again. Aaron Donald has played 138 NFL games. He's taken 7,610 snaps on the defensive line, on the defensive side of the ball. When you take the other 10 projected starters for the Rams, okay, when you take the other 10 projected starters, you're looking at they've played a total of 155 NFL games. Aaron Donald by himself has played 138. Aaron Donald has played 7,610 snaps. Those other 10 starters in 155 games have only played 5,242 snaps. And what was my point for making this point last week is the fact that while the Rams I think their offensive line is going to be okay. I think the receiving room is okay. I think they could put points on the board. I think Stafford, if he stays upright, things are going to be okay offensively. I just don't think with that kind of inexperience, it's going to take the whole first half of the season for them to get this down. And again, my constant argument is let's not forget with Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner, Ashawn Robinson, Greg Gaines, Leonard Floyd, and Jalen Ramsey, the Rams couldn't stop anybody either. It's the nature of the defense. It's the scheme that the Rams are still playing in 2020. They're still playing a 2021 defense in 2023. Hopefully not. In regards to those snaps, the 5,000 snaps, Ernest Jones has played 28 games at linebacker for the Rams. He's played 1,163 snaps. So that takes a big chunk. Also, Jordan Fuller has played in 31 career games. These aren't counting special teams. And he's taken 1,826 snaps. So literally of those 5,000 snaps taken by the other 10 starters, 3,000 of them go to Ernest Jones and Jordan Fuller. The Rams are going to be really, really, really young on defense this year. And so that is something to keep in mind. Okay, let's go around the NFL. I thought this was interesting because I'd been floating an idea that maybe Leonard Floyd could come back to the Rams. I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I don't know what Leonard Floyd is asking, but other teams are kind of making their moves for their extra edge player, right? Cleveland has Myles Garrett. We know that. They signed Ogbo Okoronkwo to a 3-year, $29 million deal, the former Ram. And when we were projecting Rams-Browns this year, I'm not a big Deshaun Watson fan. I projected the Rams could pick off a win against the Browns. But now the Browns are going to run Myles Garrett on one side, and if still healthy, Zadarius Smith on the other. Zadarius Smith, former Pro Bowler, was traded by the Vikings to the Cleveland Browns today or yesterday for a pair of fifth-round picks in next year and the year after, 24 and 25's NFL drafts. Now, this pushes Ogbo to the bench. Obviously, he's rotational with those guys. Smith has some mileage on him. Garrett is getting mileage. So Ogbo's going to play. But that adds a lot of depth to that Brown pass rush when their secondary is vulnerable. Zadarius Smith turns 31 in September. And this, again, talking about value in the draft. He was drafted 4th round, 122nd overall in 2015 by Baltimore out of Kentucky. And he's had a heck of a career. In fact, as recently as last year, he was graded 13th out of 109 edge rushers by Pro Football Focus. And that's a heck of a rating in a league full of edge rushers. So good move for the Browns. And again, how did we say it when we were talking about breaking down the the Rams regular season schedule. I think I said worst case scenario 7-10, best case scenario 10-7. That's if everything goes right and they pick off a couple of wins that maybe they shouldn't. And I think I settled on, based on how the schedule laid out, I think I settled on the Rams going 8-9. But now you acquire a Zadarius Smith. Now you refigure all this. And again, that's the thing about projections and previews, right? You can spend hours, days, and months and a summer getting your preview ready, and a team makes one move, and just like grape, it is squashed. Okay? So scratch Leonard Floyd from possibly maybe going to the Browns. I always blow his name. Jadeveon Clowney is still out there. But here was another interesting one that blew me away. You might remember the name Shane Ray. He was a first-round pick of the Denver Broncos, 23rd overall in 2015. He was on their Super Bowl team. Von Miller was there, and it looked like Shane Ray was this next great get that Denver had, and nothing worked out for him after that. I think there was a suspension in there. He had some injury issues, spent a couple years in Canada, and he hasn't played in the NFL since 2019. Well, Leonard Floyd and Jadeveon Clowney are out there, but the Bills went after and signed Shane Ray. Now, I know he's significantly cheaper. They get him at a cutthroat price, but Shane Ray, after 4 years out of the NFL, has signed with the Buffalo Bills, and he's reunited with Von Miller. And I thought that was an interesting one. And so it got me thinking about, again, count Leonard Floyd out in Buffalo, count him out in Cleveland. And you just have to wonder, how long does a guy like Leonard Floyd wait? Now, Floyd's not spectacular. We know that, but Floyd is solid. He holds the edge. He does a really good job. If there was any way that the Rams could bring him back, I would be totally in support of that, because that whole edge, Michael Hoyt is learning a new position. Daniel Hardy is almost zero playing time. Keir Thomas, same thing. And then the three guys they drafted, Byron Young and Nick Hampton and Ochawan Mathis, and all these guys they drafted, there's no experience there. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I like to do the Leonard Floyd update. Speaking of people signing in different places, one name that popped up, if you're in SoCal here, Chase Cota. Does anyone remember Chase Cota, the former UCLA guy? Chase Cota, I think he left and went to Oregon last year. He wasn't drafted. He signed with the Detroit Lions. And two former Rams signed over the weekend. Traven Howard, the linebacker who out of TCU, the guy who picked off the Jimmy G pass in the NFC title game in 2022, it was 2021 season, picked off that pass. He signed with the Buffalo Bills, off-ball linebacker, and Jacob Harris, who was Nelson Spruce Award winner in the 2021 preseason. Everyone loved him. Well, he was going to do great damage in the red zone, just like Lance McCutcheon's going to do great damage in the red zone, and Davis Allen's going to do great damage in the red zone. Jacob Harris signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars to add to the total of former Rams. Maybe I'll look that up today, or maybe I'll save it for Wednesday, since things are slowing down a little bit in terms of news for right now. But again, I'm Joe Tarosian, and oh wow, I had people click on and click off. That's okay. Some people watch this later on. But I'm Joe Tarosian. I spent 21 years as a sports writer, various places. I rode the last wave, kind of being being exposed to a daily. I also rode that first wave, working at some websites. And then I was one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports with Dwayne and Tim. And those guys are still working at Mid-Valley Sports, and they cover the NFL. They're in the room with the Chargers. And I do RamView. Thanks to my sponsors, Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. So thank you to them. I also write books. I promoted Jack Youngblood. I've promoted our friend Dick C up there. But I also write books. I've written 2 high school football novels that have been well received. Tangent Dreams and Temple City Company of the Ages. I'm also, I do this to support myself in my day job, where I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, which also has a channel right here on YouTube, Burbank Faith Virtual. And we also have a website, burbankfaithvirtual.com. You can find us on Facebook at Burbank Faith Virtual. And I post links on Instagram and Twitter in regards to that, so you can check it out. I've also written several Christian novels, many kind of dystopian in nature. Most popular one of late, Sin Virus. I think Walking Dead meets Christianity. Okay, so we got the commercial in. Thank you for your support, because I have noticed an uptick in sales. You folks have been really kind to me. I really, really do appreciate it. Okay, some of the Ram news, some more Ram news here taking place. Rams transactions. This was broken like it was this huge story. It's interesting because it's May, but Rams signed free agent cornerback Tamarcus Davis. They signed him out of Arizona State. They gave him a contract, and it says waived with no recall, which means when a player is released, he's just released. When a player is waived, a team can pull him back if somebody puts in a claim. Okay, so the Rams waived with no recall recent UDFAs, undrafted free agent signings: Tyler Hudson, Matthew Jester, and Jaden Woodby. Woodby is the Boston College safety linebacker hybrid that a lot of teams are fond of. I call them heavy safeties. Traven Howard, for example, who just signed with the Bills, was a safety in college converted to off-ball linebacker. So the way the nature of the beast works nowadays, they love these heavy safeties. But Hudson, Jester out of Princeton, and Woodby were all released. And this isn't unexpected. Last year, the Rams signed a bunch of UDFAs and then released them. The exact reason for this, I haven't pinned down, but I'm sure it's a clerical thing in regards to cap work that they're doing. Last year on May the 5th, the Rams signed safety Daniel Isom, who made the clinching turnover against the Chargers in week 1 of the preseason last year. Everyone liked Daniel Isom. Tight end Jamal Pettigrew, Lance McCutcheon, who was still on the roster. They were all signed, for example, May the 5th last year. On May 18th, a few days later, they were all cut. They were all cut. And then the Rams re-signed Daniel Isom and Lance McCutcheon. Also, players that were signed and released that were significant contributors to last offseason: Roger Carter and TJ Carter. They bring them in, they sign them, and then they release them, and then they bring them back. It's just stuff that happens. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. Now, I'm sure these players have opportunity maybe to look at other items, but, Isom, Lance McCutcheon, Roger Carter, TJ Carter, Jamal Pettigrew, they all came back to the Rams. So they were all with the Rams in camp last year. And, of course, McCutcheon is still on the roster. Another thing I wanted to get in here. This one's really interesting. One of the things I wanted to look at, because the Rams are in such flux right now with their roster, and you wonder, I was looking at the 2019 draft for the Rams, as recent as 2019. In that draft was Taylor Rapp, not in any particular order, Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott, Greg Gaines, Darrell Henderson, David Edwards, David Long, and of course, he who we do not name, Bobby Evans. That was the Rams draft class. None of them are left with the Rams. And it's really interesting is they all left just this past year. Henderson left mid-season last year when he was cut. And of course, Rapp, Scott, Gaines, Edwards, Long, all left as free agents. Evans was cut, I think, right at the end of last season and stuff. But that whole draft class is gone. And I was thinking in these less need drafts, who stuck around the longest. So I went back to 2012, and Michael Brockers was the number 1 pick. And Brockers was with the Rams for 9 years, from 2012 through 2020. So it was a very successful draft choice. He did a good job for the Rams. In 2013, the Rams took Alec Ogletree. He was with the Rams through 2017. And then here it becomes a really neat stretch where you see successful drafts where the Rams picked up, how would I say, between 2014 and 2018. In the next 5 drafts, the Rams picked up about 6 starters who are still with the team. Aaron Donald in 2014, Rob Havenstein in 2015, Tyler Higbee in 2016, Cooper Kupp in 2017, Joseph Noteboom and Brian Allen in 2018. So that's 6 players in a 5-year, 4-year window there that the Rams drafted. And now in 2023, they are still lined up and projected as starters for the team. Those are excellent drafts. That means the Rams drafted well. When you got players who played into a second contract that the team wanted to invest in, bring back, and so they've done well. The 2019 draft class all contributed. Rapp, Scott, Gaines, Henderson, Edwards, except for Evans, Long scored on a pick 6 in the playoffs in 2021. All those guys contributed to a Super Bowl championship. They were contributors, and they all left as free agents. Currently, looking at the last 3 drafts before this year, 20, 21, and 22, the Rams still have on the roster Akers, Jefferson, Hopkins, and Fuller. All those guys are, 3 of them are projected starters. Hopkins is expected to play unless something happens now with the Rams tight end room. And then, of course, Tremaine Ankrum is still on the team, and he was expected to play. You know the Rams like Ankrum. He's been around. He's a 7th-round pick, and just things haven't fallen his way. You hope he's still on the roster and gets a shot to show himself. But 2020 draft proved successful for the Rams, and these guys are still on the roster. A little closer, still on their first contract also, is the 2021 group. That's Ernest Jones, contributor. Tutu Atwell, we're finding a little more about. And I wonder if we could always, or if it's possible to ever look at Tutu Atwell without Creed Humphrey filtered glasses. It's not his fault the Rams didn't take Creed Humphrey, okay? And, the greatest Ram who never played for the Rams is Creed Humphrey. I like Tutu Atwell, okay? We're going to find out about Bobby Brown III. We need to find out more about Robert Rochelle. Ben Skoranek was an absolute score for the 7th round. And then, of course, we're going to find out a little bit, although it doesn't look good for him, Ernest Brown IV. He seems positionless, the guy at Northwestern. And then last year, Logan Bruss went down early, but we did see in Kobe Durant, Darian Kendrick, potential starters. Russ Yeast had a lot of playing time. Quentin Lake is projected to be a starter right now. And then, of course, Kyrene Williams will probably be in the rotation running the ball. And Daniel Hardy, we'll find out about Daniel Hardy. AJ Akiri still feels like he's a project. So, okay, as we come down the stretch here, let's. It's been a stone groove, but the stone groove's not over yet, guys. We still got to get through something, if that's okay. So we're gonna get to the stone groove. We're gonna talk about the safety room.
Stay in your lane.
So stay in your lane, but we're talking about the safeties. The Rams feature right now is their projected starters are Jordan Fuller and UCLA vet Quentin Lake, vet 2nd year, Russ Yeast, and then the draft pick Jason Taylor, and then Richard LeCount is on the roster, special teamer, hasn't taken any snaps, and of course the UDFAs Tanner Ingle, Quindle Johnson, Colin Duncan, and Rashad Torrance. Jaden Woodby, it wouldn't surprise me if he rejoins the roster. We'll see. But when you look at it, if Jordan Fuller at 6'2", 200 pounds can be what he was in 2020 and for a good chunk of 2021, I'm okay at that safety spot. I really am. I'm feeling really good about Jordan Fuller. I don't like the scheme the Rams do, but we know Jordan Fuller came in and outplayed Terrell Burgess. Fuller was 6th round out of Ohio State. Terrell Burgess was 3rd round. And he supplanted Jordan Fuller. And so, who was projected, high premium pick at 3rd round for the Rams. Quentin Lake didn't really get on the field to the last couple games of the season. I know the team likes him. It'll be interesting to see how he does. But the player that really interested me last year, and I'm interested to see how he develops this year, is Russ Yeast. Russ Yeast out of Kansas State runs about 5'10". He's really light, but he's always around the ball. He's physical, which means he's not going to last. If he has a career that lasts as long as Bob Sanders, the former Colt great, that would be fantastic. But and at that level, of course, right? If he plays at the level of Bob Sanders. But Russ Yeast really interests me, and right now he's listed as the 3rd safety, and he would be someone definitely to keep an eye on. And of course, Jason Taylor II. Everyone else is practice squad, even if they make the practice squad, okay? Jason Taylor would be the 4th safety, and he would be somebody that he fills the bill. He's somebody, again, we know every year the Rams draft a safety. They develop these guys. Jordan Fuller's in the last year of his contract. Jordan Fuller could play lights out, and then the Rams will decide, well, we don't want to give him $10 million, and he'll move on, and we'll get a comp pick. And then the starting safeties in 2024 will be Russ East and Quinton Lake. Maybe Jason Taylor moves into that group. And guess what we're going to do in 2024? We're going to draft another safety. Okay. It was a stone groove, and I'm happy to get this show in. A little bit shorter today. Didn't break down a whole schedule like we did. But that is one of the things that's great. And we'll keep talking about it as these teams add to themselves this off season. It'll be really interesting how we adjust. Like, I had the Rams Browns in a clear win column for the Rams because I don't trust Deshaun Watson, and I think by that time the Rams defense will be better. But then you got to wonder what condition will the Rams be in when Cleveland comes to town, and then you're matching up against Myles Garrett, and I'm pro Joe Noteboom. But Myles Garrett's a beast on the edge. He is on the edge what Aaron Donald is on the interior. And then you're going to complement him with Zadarius Smith and Ogbo getting some spot duty. So that could be trouble. I'm not taking the win out of the Rams column necessarily. But again, as these players, we know the schedule now, and now as these players' movements continue, it gives us an opportunity to assess the schedule even better. I did see one today that projected the 49ers going 14-3. I don't see the 49ers going 14-3. They don't have a quarterback right now. If Sam Darnold is the guy they're counting on to get them through, then we're going to have to find out, did Brock Purdy heal? Is Brock Purdy ready to play? And then by the time is Brock Purdy ready to play, is Deebo Samuel going to be healthy? You know, is Trent Williams going to be healthy? Is George Kittle going to be healthy? And we know their running backs go down all the time. And honestly, Christian McCaffrey's an excellent back, but Christian McCaffrey, mileage-wise, he's got mileage, and he could be going down too. So at any moment, we know the 49ers can go down. They're not going to go 14-3. Okay, I'm Joe Terosian. Thank you so much for clicking on. Appreciate your support. Please hit click like. Leave comments, ask questions. I'm not afraid to step out of my lane and talk something if you ask the question. Hey, a loyal RamView follower could ask any question they want, and I'm more than happy to answer it. You guys help me pay the freight. Okay, please hit like, subscribe as we build our footprint this offseason heading towards 2023 and that kickoff up in Seattle. All right, God bless, take care, and I will talk to you soon.